Landscape Marketing Hero. And today, what I want to share with you is why you need to know your numbers inside and out to grow your landscaping business. This is something that isn't always talked about as much as it should be. There's a lot of guesstimates and estimates and rule of thumbs and things kind of thrown around in the conversations and the communities I'm in and in the spaces where I've worked with multiple different landscapers. But if we just go that route, we're leaving so much on the table and we're creating huge risk for ourselves. And so in today's show, I'm going to break down the mindset and approach that you can use to make sure that you're more profitable and so that you consistently improve your estimates and you know your numbers the way you should. So stay tuned and I'll share that with you. I'm Gabe Arnold and this is the Green Mountain Podcast. We are the champions who brave the elements to create beauty. We see chaos and create order. We are never afraid of hard work and we understand the power of strategic thinking and intentional actions. We come from all walks of life and we will never allow our past to determine our future potential. We create beauty around the homes of our customers and increase the value of our community with the work that we do every day. We understand the power of consistent branding because it helps us grow and serve all those around us. We practice effective sales so our company, employees, and community can benefit from the value we add. We intentionally invest in operational habits that help us deliver excellent results to our customers on a continual basis. We understand that powerful and beautiful things take time to grow, and with consistent watering and intention, amazing results can happen. We are committed to making the world a better place by being positive examples to all those around us. We don't allow anyone to look down on us because we know the value we bring to our community as leaders. We create positive workplaces for our employees so they feel safe and supported, and at the same time, we hold ourselves to high standards. We pursue excellence on a daily basis because we know the journey is worth the sacrifice. We are the protectors of the land. We are the guardians of beauty. We are the heroes. We are landscapers. So one of the things that happens when we start in business is we have the drive, we have the excitement. We know we want to start our own thing because we want freedom of time and freedom of money. We don't want to be strapped to a job. We don't want to always have to answer to a boss. We want to really achieve our own things in life. And it's easy to take that healthy drive, that healthy ambition, and think that that's all we need. But as we've talked about a lot on the show this week, it takes personal investment. It takes having the right people around us to support us and hold us accountable and help us grow. And knowing our numbers in the landscaping business and knowing what it's going to take and improving our estimating skills week over week, month over month, and year over year for ourselves and also for other employees who do estimates and pricing and sales with us is absolutely critical. I remember years ago now when I was doing a huge hardscaping project for a client, and I was super excited to get the call. They were in a really affluent neighborhood. I was like, I know they can afford me. I know this is a big project and I can price it, to what it should be. And so I met with them and they were having an addition put on their back house. It was like it was more than a sunroom, but I would kind of describe it as a sunroom because there was floor to ceiling windows on every wall. It was this beautiful open space and they had just put this addition on, and they decided that instead of having kind of the hill behind the house come down to the addition and putting, French drains and all the drainage in there, they wanted to dig out that hill and put a sunken patio in and put a retaining wall and steps back up into the woods and then a walkway around to the front of the house. And we had to move a gas line because that was going to be in the way. And they had to reroute the gas line because they were doing other work in the house and moving furnaces and all that stuff. It was a huge project going on. And they had this huge, outdoor patio and living space that they wanted to create. And so I was super excited about it. And I broke it down and priced digging it out and putting the base down and, putting the retaining walls in and the drainage and, the patio and, putting the grass in and all the plantings. I put everything together. And if I recall correctly, it came in at about an $80,000 price point, which was a pretty big job. It was one of the bigger hardscaping jobs I had ever done. And I was super excited about it. So I wrote it all up, detailed it all out. And I put the price together there on the spot, which is not always a good idea, especially for that size project. What I could have done is made a few more phone calls, checked materials, talked to the vendor that we had to use they were going to bore the gas line under the yard instead of digging up the yard. I could have gotten more detail and more information from my vendors, from my material suppliers and all of that. But I was sure, I was confident. I was like, it's a big job. We'll be fine. And so I remember when I gave the price for 80 grand and the client said, yep, that sounds great. Let's do it. And they pulled out their black Amex card. I don't know how many, I haven't seen a lot of those in my life, but those metal black Amex cards, I was like, wow, they can totally afford this. I have nothing to worry about. And as we got into the project, I started to realize, the excavation took longer than I thought and it cost more than I thought. Oh, I'll make it up in the next phase. And then when I figured out materials, I was really tight on materials. I didn't really have any margin there. And then when my employees started, building out the retaining walls and putting the patio down, things were taking longer than expected. And as I moved through that project over the course of a couple of months, I started to see whatever little profit I thought I had left start to slip away. And on the $80,000 job, I ended up losing almost $15,000. And so this huge positive opportunity that could have turned into something really good and helped me propel forward and grow my business by having more profit in the bank afterward ended up costing me a ton of money. And fortunately, I was aware enough to start tracking it at that point and see that I had made a mistake. But unfortunately, I didn't go into that situation really knowing my numbers, and I didn't take the thorough time and process necessary to really have accurate and clear pricing. And so I'm sharing that warning with you because I don't want you to ever take on any job, large or small, and just think you're going to make money on it or figure it out. Because when we do that, we typically are going to lose money, and taking on a big job can hurt us significantly. Or even I've seen people take on a big job and go out of business, and you definitely don't want that. So we can improve our estimating. We can get better at our numbers by doing a handful of things that I'll kind of break down that you can, this will hopefully spark some ideas for you. Maybe there's just one or two things here that'll stand out and you go, oh, if I did that more, then I can price more effectively. So start by asking these questions as a baseline. And then we'll get into more kind of job specific things as well. The first thing is to ask yourself, what does it cost me to run my company every day without labor? So what I mean by that is, when to make your truck payments, pay for your insurance, put fuel in the trucks, do all the things except for labor and like specific materials for a job. Because when you realize that, you can say, oh, my overhead is a few $100s a day or thousands a day if you're a huge company. But if you know what it costs just to keep the lights on is this phrase that we use sometimes, right? If you know what it costs to just have the company open and operational without labor, then okay, if it's costing me $500 a day, then I need to make sure that I'm breaking that out into the projects I have. When I'm doing a huge project with all my employees, I need to make sure that there's $500 a day of overhead just to cover those things before you even get to labor. So first is, what does my overhead cost me every day? Everything to be operational without your labor. Then the second thing to ask yourself is, what does it cost me every day in labor to run my employees? I've been in businesses and helped clients where, they only have, $500 to $1,000 a day of labor, and things are, really stable and easy. So for some of us, if we look at, our labor cost every day, it may be something that, it's $300 to $500 a day, or it's $1,000 in labor to run all our employees. I've been involved with other companies where it's tens of thousands of dollars every day. You're going to be somewhere in that range, right? But it's good to know, like, if I have my crews out full time, I have my employees working full time, then this is my labor cost each day. And so by having, what is my overhead number? Like, what are the expenses like insurance, gas, my shop rent, things like that. That's one number to know. The second number is like, what is my labor cost every day? And then the third thing to ask yourself as you're asking these questions is, how much profit do I want to have at the end of the year? What do I want to have left in the business so I can reinvest in the business, have capital to grow and scale, buy new equipment, do all those things. And also out of that profit, how much do I want to make personally for my income? When we start to have those numbers and we start to understand those things, that will feed into how we show up and how we estimate and how we think through pricing accurately. The third thing I would encourage you to do is really dive into your numbers once a month. Don't just do this once or twice a year. Make it a habit of doing it on a monthly basis. And that way your estimates and your numbers will improve. And if you're the only one pricing and selling, then you can just document that stuff for now. But if you start to have crew leaders or other salespeople start to sell for you as well, then what's important to realize is do that work, go through the numbers, and then share a brief summary of what you determined. Like, as a reminder, we're always going to add, 250, a day on for overhead, or here's the things to pay attention to. Give them tools, give them resources so that they're able to price more accurately. The last thing that I'll add in as it relates to knowing your numbers, and I do this periodically, I was actually doing it today with my team, is, ask your team members, ask a crew leader, say, how long does it take to service this customer's property each week, and make note of that. And then when you finish a hardscaping project, or you do a one-off type project, or you do a big planting project, how many trees did we plant? How long did it take? Or when we did this walkway, what were the actual hours and what was the materials? As you keep feeding really good data into your mind, that's when you're going to be in a position to improve your estimates, because you'll have not only notes and data, but you'll keep feeding good input in your mind. And you remember, oh yeah, the last time we did a walkway, it took a few more hours than I thought. Or the last time we did a walkway, we had tons of time left over. So I have a little bit of flexibility to adjust my price to want to, fall with where I want to be competitive and the value I want to give the customers. And so by just being intentional about continuing to learn your numbers, knowing overhead, knowing daily labor, costs, knowing the profit margin you want to hit, and knowing what you want to make from an income standpoint, and then even getting into that job level detail, that's where you're going to be in a position where you're able to really pay attention to your numbers and improve your estimating skills. It's an ongoing process because things change, crew leaders change, materials change, we have different costs of things. It's an ongoing process, but the more we practice it and the more we feed that great data into our brain, the more we have great output that helps us grow the business. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you need any help with any of this, please reach out at landscapemarketinghero.com and we'll be glad to help you. I appreciate you taking time to tune in today. And tomorrow on the show, we're going to talk about why discounting your services is a terrible idea and can put you out of business. So stay tuned and we'll see you on the show tomorrow. I appreciate you for tuning in today and we'll see you then. If you're ready to begin your journey up the Green Mountain, where we show you how to build a low-stress, high-profit, $10 million per year landscaping company, then head over to landscapemarketinghero.com to download your free growth map. One of our guides will be there to help you along the way. Again, that's landscapemarketinghero.com.